YuGiOh is one of the world's largest card games, and it's so large, in fact, it can be overwhelming for a new player to get into. So today, we're getting to the bottom of the best ways to get into YuGiOh in 2024. Today, I'm here with Leoni. How are you doing, Leoni?
I'm fine, I'm good. I heard there's a lot to talk about YuGiOh today, so.
There is so many different avenues you can go down when you're trying to play YuGiOh for the first time in 2024, or maybe you just haven't played it in a very, very long time, and the game today looks very different than it did 20 years ago when you played it on the playground.
In more ways than just one, yeah.
You know, in 5 different summoning mechanics, give or take.
Yeah.
There's a lot more rules, there's a lot more card types, and it can be a bit overwhelming for an older player to try to come back to the game. So today, we're talking about ways for players to either pick up YuGiOh for the first time or to come back into the game after 5, 10, 15, 20 years of not playing it.
Do you think it's harder to pick it up for the first time today or to get back into it?
I think it might actually be harder to get back into the game because people have so many memories of what the game used to be, and sadly, that game doesn't really exist in that way anymore. We're practically playing YuGiOh 2, maybe even YuGiOh 3 at this point,
yeah,
depending on who you ask.
And then a lot of digits.
Yeah, but I do think out of all the TCGs on the market, it is the most rewarding to play. And the feeling you get when you solve the puzzle, just like Yugi's Millennium Puzzle, you solve a board and you break it, the game was lost, you had no chance, but somehow you managed to play your cards in a way that you're able to bring the game back and win. There's no other feeling like it in any other card game I've ever played, and I've played a lot of them. So the more people we can get into YuGiOh, I think the more people will love it. There's a couple main formats for YuGiOh. There's the OCG, which is the paper game in Japan, Asia regions, which we don't really need to concern ourselves with. There's the TCG, which is the paper game in Europe, North America. And then there's also Master Duel, which is the main online format, kind of uses a card pool and ban list mixed between the TCG and OCG. So it exists in its own bubble, but it has the benefits of being an online game that you can play anywhere, anytime, for free, free to play, and it also is pretty much the only official way to get a tutorial in YuGiOh. It has tutorial levels that you can play through to actually learn the rules if you're not familiar. And then once you get into the games, it has a lot of conveniences of an online platform, like showing you what effects you're able to use or checking off your once per turns as you use them.
If you were to start again for YuGiOh and just, get some practice in, then of course, with friends, obviously. But if, let's say, you're not 12 anymore and you don't see a lot of people your age every day, then just maybe go online, check out like Master Duel or something. The tutorials in Master Duel are also really funny because they have like this weird range of like, where it's like, here's the tutorial to place a card face down. And then there's a tutorial to summon like the most elaborate like monster in the same turn. But there's also, a solo mode. Just see what kind of combos you could do with some cards that you liked back then, and maybe how to like spice it up a little just to get a feel for the game. And then once you're in that headspace, once you're having fun with it again, then I feel like you could think about, okay, like let's be more serious. What's the meta? What's currently going on? What are the strongest cards, and so on.
Yeah, I do think that is an issue for a lot of people. There's like this new player anxiety of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't want to play against real people because they'll think I'm such a noob and like have no idea how to play my cards, and like
half of these people don't even know what they're doing either.
Yeah, that's a big part of it too. Like, don't feel that way. It's totally fine. Everyone was new once, and even experienced players make mistakes all the time. It's a very complicated game. It's fine. But those solo modes are really good to get used to the rules, to get used to the cards, figure out what kind of combos your cards are capable of doing and how to do them reliably, and then you can take them onto the main PvP sort of mode in Master Duel and really test your merit and test your learning from the training mode, which I think is a great way to start if you're brand new.
It is. You know what is like about to happen or what your options are. Like, of course, the difference in like from Master Duel to real life is, of course your graveyard doesn't remind you of a card that you put there 4 moves ago, but it still helps you to just know that there's stuff possible, right? Like, you know, sometimes you look at a board and you're like, oh, how do I get out of this? And that's like, then you can remember, oh, in Master Duel, I can usually get out of that. Wait, maybe I should check my graveyard. I think like that could help some people, yeah.
Yeah, it gets you into the proper sort of way of thinking about the game that you can transition into playing the game in real life, which I would strongly recommend for anyone on Master Duel to eventually transition into the real game. I think Master Duel is sort of in this weird place where it has its own ban list, so it isn't quite the same as the game that you'll find at your local stores. And also I think card games are just an inherently social activity, and having someone across the table that you can like enjoy the game with and talk back and forth is a huge part of the game that I miss when I play Master Duel. The question is, how do you get cards? How do you get a deck in your hands? What should you be buying? Well, I'm a huge advocate for the YuGiOh structure decks. I think structure decks are the way for any new player to start. All you need to do is buy 3 of them, because that way you will get 3 copies of all the most important cards. Most of the structure decks, you can get 3 copies of them for under €20, and you can build a semi-competent deck for under that €20. There's no better bang for buck than buying these structure decks and putting them all together. And also, usually what happens is you buy a structure deck, like Fire Kings, for example, is probably the best one to buy. And then later on, if you decide you like it, you can just buy other single cards to start slotting them in, make your deck more powerful one by one. You're adding staples, you're adding hand traps, and before you know it, your deck gets better and better and better, and you might even be competing at a more competitive level before you even know it. You know, sealed product is fun to open with friends, do whatever, it's a good time. But if there's specific cards you are looking for your one deck to improve it, the wisest choice in terms of spending your money is to just buy the single cards you're looking for and guarantee that you'll be able to put those into your deck. I love me some sealed product, but
yeah, 100%.
Just saying, bang for buck, singles are the way to go. And also worth mentioning, it's not just the price of your cards. You're also going to need some accessories. You need sleeves to play YuGiOh. A lot of tournaments.
Necklace.
Yeah.
It's very important. It's essential.
A lot of tournaments won't even let you play if you don't have sleeved cards. But it's important to note when you're buying sleeves, you need to buy Japanese-sized sleeves. YuGiOh cards are actually smaller than other card games like Magic the Gathering cards. So YuGiOh card sleeves are smaller to fit the smaller YuGiOh cards. So don't make that mistake and buy a regular sized box of sleeves because they will be way too big for your YuGiOh cards.
Sounds like something that has never happened.
It definitely has never happened to me.
It's so specific. Do you want to talk more about that?
Definitely did not do that when I got back into YuGiOh. Absolutely not. Also, you'll need a deck box to put your cards in to keep them protected. You'll need a game mat to play on so you don't damage your cards, sliding them across some random table in a card shop.
Cool belt where you put it and then, you know, you put on your coat and it blows in the wind and you're like, yeah.
You need a dual disc.
Yeah, right. But yeah, a box is very helpful. You don't want your cards also like, you know, just being a little set right there and then, you know, you fumble a little and all of your cards are across the entire store.
Yeah.
That has certainly never happened to me.
That's very specific, Leoni.
Isn't it?
Yeah, weird, right?
Right.
The days of the rubber band around the cards in your pocket are certainly over. You're spending money on these cards. You want to make sure they're protected.
Just unlocked a memory in my mind of like...
Yeah.
That I wasn't ready for, but sure.
We all did it. We all did it. How do you find a local tournament to go to? Well, you can actually go on Konami's website and they have a store locator. They're called OTS stores, official tournament stores. You just type in your location and every store near you that runs YuGiOh events, usually once a week, will pop up on a map. And if you're in a somewhat decently populated area, chances are you will have a couple different stores to pick from. that you can go to and play at once you figure out when they host their tournaments.
That's crazy. That's so cool. Can we use that just to be like nosy and stuff? I want to know if people in Antarctica or something are like...
You could, yeah. Type in any address you want. Once again, I know a lot of people have anxiety about like going to a card shop and like not being the best at the game and not really knowing what they're doing. But I will say, YuGiOh players in general love to see new people coming to the game. If you're just honest and you go to a card shop and you say, hey man, look, I'm new at this. This is my first tournament. Like, can you play slowly? Like, explain what your cards do while you're doing it. Like, people are more than happy to work with you and like try to help you understand what is going on because they just like seeing new people getting into the game.
Yeah, and also they know that this is kind of...
Yeah, everyone knows the game is hard, yeah, absolutely. So people are more than willing to like slow down and explain things to you. The other thing to keep in mind is be ready to lose.
No!
A lot. You are going to lose a lot of games.
Yeah, don't bet your entire soul for the Shadow Realm right on the first duel, right?
It's
just wait for that.
Yeah, like you will lose. It's just going to happen, and it's going to happen a lot. There's people who have played this game hundreds and thousands of hours ahead of you. It's a very complicated game. There's a lot of nuance in decisions. You are going to lose. It's all about learning from those losses, seeing what could have gone differently, seeing what part of the game you understand more after taking the loss.
Zeus punches you in the face so often that at some point you're like, maybe I need a strategy in my deck to kind of get rid of that problem.
Exactly. You start seeing the same cards, you start learning quick effect timings and chain links and chain blocking, and all these things just sort of pile up over time, and before you know it, you're actually playing the game and you are standing a chance against your opponents, which is obviously an awesome feeling. Just check your ego a little bit, because you will lose a lot of games, but that is part of the journey, and you will become a better player through doing that. And that's probably my biggest tip for going to stores is just like ask questions. Just ask a lot of questions to people, and most of the time they'll help you out and give you answers. Like after the game, if you say, look, this is what I had in my hand, should I have done that differently? Like, what other options did I have? Was there a better way to do that? Like, how am I supposed to get rid of that card? It seems like it's unkillable. And people usually are more than happy to just talk to you and help you learn the game that way too.
Once in a while there's someone who's not a nice person, I guess, but yeah, usually they are, and usually people will also help you make your moves in their turns.
Maybe you go to a store and you don't get along with anyone at that store. That's the great thing about the store locator. Usually there will be a couple options in your area, and every store is completely different. You might go to a store and have a terrible time and everyone is not really your kind of vibe, it's not friendly, whatever. And then you can just go to a different store the next week and everyone's lovely and great and you have a great time, make a bunch of friends, and you're going there every week for the next year, right? Every store has its own sort of ecosystem and environment of players, and sometimes some are better than others. So I would encourage people to check out any stores nearby them to see what each store is like.
The chances are very, very high that you will find people that you can vibe with, because the Yu-Gi-Oh community is very, very diverse. Like it's something that I've like in general. I feel like, you know, people who play card game, that's like, you know, first of all, age, right? Age doesn't like from 8 years to 80. Like I've seen it all, right? And whenever I'm at a little tournament or just to hang out with friends on an afternoon, I look around, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's like people from all over the place.
Yeah, no, I've made friends that are like 15, 20 years older than me through card games. And it's like, I never would have met you in any other situation in my life, but here we are both playing Yu-Gi-Oh, right? So it's a really cool part of it for sure. Other than that, I think the biggest thing is just make friends, chat with people about the game. You're all there to enjoy the game. I'm sure people would love to talk to you about it. Ask people questions, like we mentioned, you know, ask people for tips or advice or help. In terms of, you know, building a community around a game, I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh is quite strong for that. Because it is such a unique game, people tend to enjoy each other's company and talk about the game and all enjoy this thing together.
And a lot of people play it. They just
Yeah,
YuGiOh
that's the
is
other
played
thing.
a lot. Like
There's record-breaking YCS events all the time, so after going to your locals for a while, maybe you'll be going to regionals and nationals and all these things before you
going
even
to
know
national. If I were a new player right now, Taylor, it'd be like, oh yeah, that's the best advice I've ever heard.
That's the stuff. That's the stuff right there. If you have any questions about the game, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you've had an experience of trying to get back into the game that you'd like to talk about, also great place to talk about it in the comments. Other than that, if we missed anything, let us know. And if you want to see more discussion videos like this, also give us a subscribe and a like. Other than that, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
You get into chains, right? Like, what is up with that? Like,
How does the damage step work?
what about that timing that is missing?
Yeah.